You have a few seconds.
Okay, cool.
Ready when you
Good.
Yep. Ready when you
All right. Okay, so welcome to the Waitai Coastal-Burwood-Linwood Community Board Submissions Committee. I'd like to open with a karakia timatanga. Pakataka te hau ki te uru, pakataka te hau ki te tono, kia mā kina kina ki te, kia mā taratara ki tau, e hi apia te atakura, I tio, I ruka, e ho, tina, o and I have apologies. So just a note for the public, if anybody is tuning in, that this is only community board members and not the councillors reported to the board, because councillors are decision makers. So apology from Jo,
which is redacted now.
which is now retracted because she's on Zoom, and we also have apologies from Tim Baker, and we have apologies for lateness from Jackie Simon. Would someone like to move those be accepted? All of those moved by Greg, seconded by Jo.
Yep.
I think that's what that was. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Thank you. It's carried for. Thank you very much. Do we have any declarations of interest? Right, I don't think we do. So no declarations of interest. So in order to have a sort of pre-discussion, usually practice that we suspend standing order 3.5, and so I'll just move that we move so we suspend standing order 17.5 and 18.1. So I'd like to move that. Moved by Greg. I'll second that. I'll put that now. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against. Carry. I'm just going to check something. All right. So the next, the first one, I thought we'd just do the easy one first and talk about the Pages Road Bridge. So that was a bad joke. So hopefully you've had a chance to have a look at the starter that I sent through. So you're going to put that share that up on the screen.
Sorry.
So Cindy's just going to put that up.
So just a note for those that are online, this is what Paul sent through earlier. So it's his first working draft of the submission template. So it's a good starting point for discussion.
Okay, I've just had a message from Jackie Simon saying that something's happening with the email, so she hasn't got this done, but I can send that to her.
She looks like she's joining now.
Just wait for Jackie to join. Hi, Jackie. Can you hear us, Jackie? Can you hear us, Jackie? I think the answer to that might be no. Jackie, can you hear us? want to make sure that, can you hear us, Jackie?
I can now. That took a bit, but yeah, I'm here and present.
All right, here and present danger. All right, so we've suspended standing orders. We've got me and Greg here in person, and then you'll see Alex and Joe on Zoom, and Tim is not here. So we've suspended standing orders, but the first item for discussion is the Pages Road and surrounding streets. And on the screen you'll see just the starter that I sent through. So does anyone want to start us off? I mean, I think I read your submission, Joe, and I modified some of what you had said that I thought that the whole board would agree with, and I got a little bit. Tim had sent through a little bit of stuff because he knew he wasn't going to be here. So rather than me talking about what I think to you, would you like to start us off, Joe? We can move
I'm
through.
really supportive of your first point, strongly support the second lane out. Emphasise the importance of the upgrade and replacement of road service and flooding remediation, but also if we can add future proofing in there.
I think just as a general statement, I think we probably all support future proofing. I just wondered what you had in mind there.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you then, Paul.
I think as a general principle, like future proofing is a bit like this. My thing must be on the floor or something.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I'm happy with that. I think the main thing is to get Pages Road done and the footpaths and the drainage and everything. That's kind of the worst part of the whole situation.
Yeah. So did you just want to add? You wanted to add future proofing?
Yeah, you've got to emphasise the importance of the upgrade, replacement and future proofing of the road surface.
Yep. Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to comment on? Just in this section?
No, in that section, that's fine.
Okay, cool. Greg, did you?
For me, it was I really like the plan with Verticara through there, a vibrant sort of theme. What we've engaged recently, and a lot of things came about colour. So I thought the importance of adding colour was really good to that. I think with any planting along the outside of the roads, just to make sure it's sort of able to be, if things need to be widened, put in bus lanes or that, planted in a place that can allow for the road remediation. It's not going to affect any planting to keep the well-developed trees, hopefully by that stage, in place.
One of the landscaping and trees we probably maintain for the gateway to live up to its promise, and then as well as to take into account any future widening.
Yeah, potentially for bus lanes. Is that anything that seems
for
public transport lanes.
I had a quick question after that. I'm not sure where it would go, but Joe mentioned signs just sort of saying that the moves that way. Obviously, if they're sort of shifting where the bridge is going down. Once again, I'm not sure if this is the right point to raise it, but I really like that idea. I mean, signs aren't too expensive, and it sort of addresses a few concerns that some business owners had as well.
I guess
I'm not sure if it will come in under this.
I guess there's another point that in order for it to function as a gateway, there needs to be signposting.
Yeah, wayfinding wayfinding signs. And last term we actually talked about doing wayfinding signs for Hepuna Tamoana. And I don't know whatever happened to that. Cindy, you might remember.
Well, we could just put in brackets after signs, including for Hepuna Tamoana,
Local attraction.
including for local attractions.
Yeah, local attractions. But the wayfinding really, it would be really good to have something saying shopping or
Shops.
businesses this
Yeah.
way at the intersection, beach, pier, whatever, that way, parking down Hawke Street.
I can speak to that at the oral submission, I guess.
Cool. Thank you.
That was you, Alex. Jackie, did you have anything around this part? No. All right then.
Yeah, Paul,
so-
the only other thing mentioned to me was that about parking off to the side. If people want to go to the Bexley part, is there going to be enough parking for that?
You mean
Through the red zone and off to Bexley Road. There's a little car park, but I'm not sure if it's big enough.
Yeah, I mean, so my kind of gut on that is that if we're going to plan for parking rather than it being roadside, there's quite a lot of space off the road.
Yeah, they have got the little park off the road at the moment, but someone just said to me, is that enough?
So I guess we could say, I'm just thinking, just at this bit here, this top section, we could say something like residents are keen to maintain easy access to the Bexley red zone. And without roadside parking, the council needs to consider provision elsewhere.
How about just was adequate roadside parking?
Well, because my view is that we don't want car parks on the side of Pages Road when it's going to be the key evacuation route.
Okay, then with adequate local parking. It's just a bit wordy for me, all right? Put what you like.
So do you have a suggestion for rewording it?
With adequate local parking.
Need to consider providing adequate local parking, is that what you mean?
Yeah. That'll do.
Do we have anything else on this point? Right.
Brackets.
Moving on. So do you support the proposed raised T intersection traffic lights at Pages, Hawke and Seaview roads? Now, I will say on this one that I've looked at the modelling and it's going to save 20. So the modelling says it will save 25 extra minutes. So so that's 12, an hour 12 as opposed to an hour 36. And the big thing is that without the T intersection there, without the New Brighton Road coming out, it allows two right left turning lanes coming off, coming from the south, and the people who really get stuck if you put in that T intersection, if you don't reroute New Brighton Road, the people who really get stuck are those who live south of Seaview in that kind of triangle. Because the whole thing is that you're trying to get people, you want people who live north of what is now the roundabout to go north, people who live in the central to be able to get out, people who live just south to also be able to get out from the south and then that takes pressure off Bridge Street. I just, and I feel that it's really important that we accept in good faith the scientific basis of this. I understand that not everybody will agree with me there, but I don't have, it's not, yeah, so that's my view. Greg, did you have?
I'm not much on the same line. I think if you can reduce things by that percentage, it's a huge thing. It's a terrible thing, but not everyone's going to get out. If you're making a huge difference like that to get more and more people out, and God forbid something that happens like that, yeah, I think it's a great option to have that. I'm generally not a fan of the raised platforms, as everyone knows. So the T intersection myself, I really do believe is a good difference there. Yeah, unfortunately, it does come at the cost of a couple of streets joining into that intersection, but with the options I put forward, I think they work well.
Jackie's got her hand up. Jackie?
Yeah, I agree too, Paul. I think sometimes it's sort of said, you know, to ask the locals how they feel. And I've seen with various projects over the years that locals come in with their own viewpoint, and it's not without merit, because, you know, we live in the area, we always have merit in what we say, but we also come in with our own objectives. And I've just seen situations whereby what locals think is going to be the best idea doesn't actually concur with the modelling and with the science that goes behind the, you know, what's being presented. So while I appreciate that there will be some resistance from locals, I've seen it even with the changes down in Woolston. Everybody said that's not going to work, it's going to be too congested, there'll be no parking, and here we are, and it's working perfectly. So I am inclined to go with you know, with the science on this, pretty much. That's it.
Thanks, Jackie. Joe?
Yeah, well, you kind of know what I think. I kind of oppose that. I think it should be a cross intersection, and New Brighton Road should be retained. Living in the area for so long and knowing what happens in evacuation, and I have seen all the modelling, and the modelling that has been presented to the community board in the past does not relate to what actually happens on the ground. I think the council have dropped the ball with consulting with the residents, and that we should have been talked to and engaged with regarding this, and our feedback would have been very valuable. With the T intersection, it will not help with evacuation that much more than the other scenario with a cross intersection. The cross intersection, when it comes to everyday usage, would actually be beneficial for people living in the South Brighton area. At the moment, with people travelling from the Palms towards South Brighton, it's a straight through route from New Brighton Road to Els Terrace. And doing this intersection this way is going to add 7 corners to that travelling, plus that includes 2 giveaways and a traffic light. So I'm not really supportive of that T intersection.
Right, thanks, Joe. Alex?
Yeah, hey, listen, I'm not a traffic modeler, and I think it would be silly for us all to pretend that we are. We have reliable state-of-the-art data, and what we've seen from that is that it does reduce evacuation times, and especially in the coastal ward, it's really important that our evacuation routes are as fast as we can get. So I think I support Paul's comment.
Yeah, I think, from again, I've looked at the modelling. And the network itself although if people coming from taking that, who currently come south from along Els Terrace will have to turn more, that for most people who are using that intersection will be a lot more efficient because of the phasing issues. It just means because you're having to move fewer lanes of traffic through the intersection, that it's going to be more efficient.
And the other thing that it could happen is that the bridge could be out. And
yes.
then what?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the approaches to bridges, right? Like we know from the earthquake experience that it's the approaches to bridges, and
no, the bridge was out. Well, the bridge was very dubious to go over.
Yeah. Well, I think we kind of we've got a sense of where we're at as a whole board. Can we scroll up again? I mean, just about Rawson Street. Like I do feel for the residents on Rawson Street, and which is why I included it down further, that there might need to be some more work done with those people to kind of mitigate the impact of the redirection of New Brighton Road. Is there any? And can we just note that the modelling shows that there'll be 25. And it's also a 25-minute. So no, that 41 is correct. 40 minutes from the current layout and 25 from a cross intersection. In the next, and then do we have anything? Anybody you want to say anything particularly about Rawson Street?
Yeah, well, Rawson Street is kind of quite angular at both ends, like New Brighton Road end and Keys Road end, and trying to get that right is for the amount of traffic that might go down there is really important for the residents. I don't think the traffic calming measures all the way down are going to be greeted very kindly by the residents. So it might be a bit of overkill.
Yeah, sorry, I've skipped ahead we'll come back to that. I'll just try and
okay. This intersection though, the T intersection, I think that's a really important intersection to have the wayfinding as well. If we can just put a pointer on that says if wayfinding signage can be included at each of the intersections affected. Something like that, we can reword that. Right, so we'll move on in order. That was my fault. In terms of Seaview Road, I mean, I know that there are a number of community groups that use the hall, and I noted that from your comments, Joe. I have there's not clear to me how that's been taken account of by the planning, but I'm sure that's something that can be worked through. I do think that on this main route, especially, that vulnerable road users need to be prioritised. Did you have anything further to add on that, Joe? Yeah, supporting those businesses is really crucial. You know, they're all struggling. You know, wayfinding is part of it, but also taking away the parking from outside them is another kick in the head for them. If we can actually divert the cycle route down Beresford Street, as has been suggested by another group, that may be one thing that would save parking in Seaview Road. But, you know, to support the businesses, where the intersection of Hood Street, the museum's on, and it veers around at that intersection, if we could have something that kind of opens up that intersection for cars to be diverted down the mall as well, because at the moment the cars going down Seaview Road are taken away from the main part of the mall, and there's businesses that weren't that happy about that. So dialogue with local business is really, really important.
Yeah, I guess maybe because rather than trying to redesign it, if we could say that dialogue with local businesses to ensure adequate parking should be a key part of this project.
Yeah, well, it's not just the parking, but it's the way the road is going to swing around towards South Brighton and take it away from the central mall. I think they just need to have a bit of dialogue with the businesses about how they can actually compensate a wee bit, maybe, with more wayfinding, or, talk to them and get solutions.
Do you have a suggestion of how we might incorporate that?
No idea.
I guess we have said currently more dialogue is needed with local businesses and with groups who use Roy Stokes Memorial Hall. I guess we could say to develop in partnership options for parking and access.
Yeah, access to central mall area, maybe.
Access to the central mall area.
I think so.
Yeah. All right. Anyone want to add on that? All right, moving on. Do you support the changes to Hardy Street? Yeah, the only thing I really had to say was what taken from, I think, something you had said, Joe, which was to say conditionally on whether Fire and Emergency New Zealand is supportive.
Yeah, I just got concerns about the narrowing of all the intersections, and it will make it harder for people to evacuate those intersections. The narrowing also, it's hard if you're a cyclist trying to get between a car and the corner. But with the police station just being right there on Seaview and Hardy with their back entrance on Hardy, I think it's really important that the police are able to get in and out when required. So that's really my main concern.
Yeah, I'm happy to add in the police to Fens.
Yeah.
And
Well, they're part of the Fens, aren't they?
I'm not quite sure how the relationship works there, because obviously the perspective of the fire department and the perspective of the police aren't the same.
Stakeholders and consultants.
And Steve, what about on whether? We'll just leave that. That'll do. Do you support the proposed changes to Rawson and Pratt Street? So we said, provided that Pratt Street service is fully renewed, work needs to be undertaken with Rawson Street residents to address their concerns. Work needs to be done with Annabelle's Educare to reduce parking congestion around the intersection and increase traffic at Rawkins Keys Pratt intersection as a safety concern. Yeah, I mean, I have to admit, like, in looking at that, it looks to me like something that's going an intersection that's going to require more work as once people adapt to the change and people turning right. I'm not a huge fan of that intersection. Joe, did you have any comment to make?
It's a really dangerous intersection. the Pratt Street surface is fully renewed. It actually needs a lot of underground work with the pipes or something. It's got those hollows in the middle that just keep sinking and sinking.
Yeah.
So you just can't renew the surface. You've actually got to renew the whole work underground as well.
Yeah, hence I've written fully renewed.
So it's not just the surface, but I suppose it's the infrastructure. It's the paths and the guttering. I'd like to actually see the footpath in Pratt Street, if it's cul-de-sac, actually extend a little pathway to the river, so that people in Pratt Street have the option of just going down a path to the riverbank.
Yeah, I don't imagine they're going to be shutting it off. Having a look at it, should be pretty simple, but I'm happy to include that. So provided that the Pratt Street surface paths or surface and footpaths and infrastructure fully renewed, and then the next one under that, the board requests a footpath between the cul-de-sac and river.
Probably Old New Brighton Road. Old New Brighton Road.
Yeah, and Old Brighton Road.
In the river, yeah.
Would you stop just at New Brighton Road or take it all the way back to the bridge that way?
I don't know. Well,
I don't think part of the plan is to rip up what's already there.
yeah, I don't think they're planning on. Yeah, I don't think they're planning on ripping up the road.
No, you've got the provision of the cycle path obviously onto there and the walking
Yeah.
path, so and obviously going to rip it all up.
There will be the cycle path here.
Yeah, so one thing I mentioned to staff was the number of people that actually go down the pathway from the roundabout, the current roundabout at New Brighton to down New Brighton Road towards Rawson Street and Pratt Street. And there's quite a few mobility scooters used there as well. And I said, can anything be done to actually look at upgrading that path if this goes ahead? Because that path currently floods at times, and there needs to be that linkage between there, a safe linkage for those people.
So which path is that?
Well, if you see in the design, the intersection from the T intersection that they're making, there's a path going down towards New Brighton Road, but that path it will probably link up to the existing path, but that existing path needs upgrading.
Right, I see what you mean now.
So it looks like it just connects onto the existing pavement, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that bit connects onto the path that's
Yeah, I guess as a longer term project.
Yeah. Well, when I mentioned that to staff, they said it shouldn't be too much of an inconvenience.
Well, okay, so as part of so the path, the New Brighton Road pathing that's currently there.
Yeah. So it's just a matter of retaining that between Rawson Street and the roundabout that's there now. Well,
Yeah.
It'll be the traffic light connection to actually ensure that that path is actually well maintained or upgraded for purpose.
Yep. Yep. Okay, that's cool. Thanks, Cindy. Thanks, Joe. Anything else on this? No, all right. Let's let's keep moving. Do you have any comments on other parts of the plan? And I've put, we support the closure of the end at Els Terrace intersection, but think there should have been a question about it in the consultation document. I do agree with you there, Joe.
Yeah, and the same with New Brighton Road. It wasn't actually asked in the document, do you support the closure of New Brighton Road? And I think they would have got quite a bit of feedback on that if that question was posed.
Well, I guess although we've kind of addressed the New Brighton Road already, I think redirection of New Brighton Road's probably a slightly more neutral way of putting it. You know, like it's a removal of New Brighton Road from that from a cross intersection, but nevertheless, like I do think that there would have been on going back to Els Terrace. I do agree it should have been in the consultation document, and I've also included something. I think this is from Tim. The bus stop outside the New Brighton Museum on Harley Street should be moved along past the entrance. It's currently 100 millimetres from the museum as preventing maintenance. I don't know how that happens. They put a bus stop that close to the building. Do we have any other comments that we wish to make about the plan? Joe?
I don't agree with that bus stop. The bus stop could be taken closer to Seaview Road, but it needs to be in that section of Hardy Street between Beresford and Seaview, because the bus turns down Beresford Street towards Orem Ave. And if you took it up any further to Hardy Street towards Union Street, then there wouldn't be a bus stop in that section.
Well, in that case, I think we should just take this out and deal with that separately outside of the submission.
Okay.
We can, yeah. Okay. Anything else we would like? I mean, I kind of like to say it's been a long wait, and it's very exciting that this project is almost ready to be decided upon. And if there's, I used to think one thing that's one thing that's worse than an imperfect Pages Road Bridge is no Pages Road Bridge.
I think just saying that, you know, we really want people's views considered and genuine consultation on this, because it's been left to the last minute. There's very little chance anything will get changed. And this is the first time people have actually seen that, or had the chance to actually engage with the council, yet the plans have been out for like about 4 years or so. And there should have been input prior to this. But, you know, I think we really want this to get done ASAP. If the sooner the better. So
we should just
if we can put a statement in about that.
Sorry, but those things don't quite seem to be consistent with each other.
Okay.
So what is the emphasis that you're wanting to put on it, Joan?
That first of all, to actually listen and take on the feedback that the community are putting forward, especially the businesses and the residents of the community.
So we can say the board wishes to emphasise the importance of bringing as many people with
its wishes.
The board emphasises its wishes. Its wish. No, emphasises its wish for the council to work with all key stakeholders to ensure that this project is a
success.
A
Online.
success. And the next is that the sooner this project can start, the better. All right. Do we want to add anything else? All right. Going once, going twice. All right. Cool. Thank you. That's that one done. Just a 1 minute breather, and then we'll be on to the Puhara Kiki Nui Sticks Stormwater Management Plan.
Do you want me to stop and mute?
Yeah, sure.
One of those, what are those snaky things? Door snake. Oh yeah, yeah, little door, sausage dog. Cindy on, or she went outside. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't going to see Edie. Yes. Well, that's what I'm wondering. Would that be a good time? Well, I understand if you kind of, if you're talking about something that's a bit sensitive, I can do it another time, but I just thought I'd raise it with you and see if you thought it was definitely good timing. Actually, I was sitting up to okay, but I didn't know what time because I know we hadn't actually got as far as details. I spoke to them on Friday. Meeting's pretty much right now. Tuesday morning. Yeah. No, that's all right. I've got stuff already lined up, so don't worry. Oh, no, that's fine. Next time, next time, just come with you and just have a look.
Awesome.
Sorry, is anyone there?
Yes,
No.
we are.
No, we're not.
Says the guy with the camera off.
Can I just note my late apology, early, what's the word?
Yes. We
Thank
can-
you, appreciate it. Is that a right for quorum?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Cheers, team. Really appreciate it. Sorry, I've got another meeting on. Good one.
All right. See you later, Alex. All right. Now on to the Puhara Kiki Nui. Are we live?
We are.
We're live. Now this one is a bit it's a bit more complex in the sense that it's a complex policy issue, and all I really want to say is I'm really in a position to say is it's not really clear how much has been done on what the Styx River Working Party. Were you on that working party, Joe?
No.
Because it looks like quite a lot of plan work has been done on that plan. A lot of stuff was proposed.
It could have been done through last term. It was Pepanui Innes, most of it, and there was a bit of we did the bus trip through the Styx for those that were interested. That was about it.
Yeah. So we it only has do you have any feedback on the proposed goals? And if you look at the goals, they're all very laudable goals. I don't know if anyone's going to disagree with those. And then the next kind of bit. So if you've read it, it just says 6 goals are good, but it's unclear what work's been done, and whether the work that's been done by the Styx River Living Laboratory is going to continue, which I assume is a work that we all support, and then a bunch of stuff that I got via someone I know who lives locally. I've that wasn't the complete list of things. I took some things out that I thought that we probably didn't want to ask. Does anyone have anything to add to this, Greg?
Over the weekend, I met with a water resource engineer. So he's based in Auckland, but he deals in these types of things. He said the plan as a whole does cover all the areas, but a lot of the things come back to more central government initiatives that are going to make the difference. A large amount of the zinc issues that are into the waterways comes from the tides and the zinc grooves. So unless it's a mandated thing from central government, it's not really going to be local government policy that's going to change something in there. The copper of the brakes, again, it states it's the US changing their rules is going to dictate how everyone else changes, and the volume of their road users is going to bring down the cost of that over time. So unless there's a really efficient street sweeping campaign that goes through, or all roadie runoff goes through a wetland space for it to be filtered through, he said a lot of that stuff is, if it goes directly into the river, it's not really going to have much of an effect. It needs to go through the water basins from the stormwater off the roadside. It's going to make a bigger difference, particularly through that.
And that's where that, right, so I don't know if you saw the comments from the ecologist I sent through, but some riparian planting on the immediate floodplain to restore more of the original character of the river. You know, any of that riparian planting is going to improve that.
Yeah, it's all going to help. But yeah, as I said, if it's just going straight into the stormwater system and straight into the river, it's not going to have that same effect because it's going through the stormwater basins. But they do have a number of them proposed throughout the space. The one thing that he did comment on that he thought was an issue was for such a large catchment, there's very few testing sites within that. And he said it almost looked like to him there could be something being hidden because there's not a lot of space that's being tested along the waterways. Whether there's pockets in between that there's more information needs to be gathered from to actually delve into and find where some of the issues could be with the water.
So going back to what you're saying about the zinc and the copper, like that I remember it's something actually that Anne Dalzell mentioned in her frustration is that we know that those things are so detrimental to the waterways, and yet we don't have any power to deal with them as local government. So could we add, go down to the bottom there, under further down, I think. So if we can just say additional comments. And then one is that the board would like to see more riparian planting on the immediate floodplain to restore more of the original character of the river.
How you spell it?
R-I. P-A-R-I-A-N. I-A-N. Yeah.
Along the river.
Along the on the immediate floodplain. To restore the original natural character of the river. And then next, this would also help reduce the impact of pollutants such as zinc and copper. Next one, the board acknowledges that central government need to regulate regarding zinc and copper. And what was the next one? The board believes more testing sites are needed throughout the catchment. Right. Does anyone want to add anything?
There's some really good testing sites throughout there. When we did our bus trip, they stopped at all the sites along the river where they did testing. I was actually quite impressed with what they were doing. One thing that we heard from the community out there as well is next to the Styx River, between Brooklands and Spencerville, people would like to have a walking track in amongst all the planting.
In terms of the stormwater plan.
It doesn't really relate, but
Yeah, I guess
it's just some feedback.
want to keep it focused on the stormwater and pollutant side things, but I guess we could flag it for the LTP. We could say the board would like to flag for the LTP a walking track where, sorry?
Well, it would be best to talk to the community out there just to make sure where exactly they'd like it. But they were talking about between Brooklands and Spencerville. I think there was a track and it did have some damage and they would like that connection back. But I think talking to the Spencerville and Brooklands residents would be the way to go.
All right, well, I guess we can say that's just how it is there. Anything else? Right, going once, going twice, sold. Kikanui. And so the final one that we have before us is the draft naming policy. We sort of talked a little bit about issues that this touches on. It's not really entirely clear whether the council will need to request a Māori name for suburban roads. So it calls them collector roads. So under the district plan, collector roads are everything that isn't main and secondary arterials. So obviously excluding state highways. And so if the council is going to, is the one who has to, under the policy, make those requests, I think it would be much better that developers are the ones that have the onus put on them. You know, I would like every time we have something come to the board that we have a te reo name as an option. But that doesn't necessarily have to be always the council's because the developers already come to us for names. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if anybody has problems with that. Jackie, you've got a hand up.
I just want to question. The board would like the default for all roads to be Maori names. I don't have. I'm quite happy for us to have a Maori option for every road, and I think that's a good idea. But I don't think that we should. I'm not totally on board with the default for all roads to have Maori names. I'm on board with the board having a Maori option for every road.
I guess we currently the default is for all roads to be English names. So I just kind of swapping it around. That's my view, but it doesn't have to be the board's view.
I don't think the default should be for all roads to have English names either. I don't think that we should default to either.
So,
I think the default should be that we are given options in Maori and English.
yeah, I can agree with that. That the board would like the default to be that there is always provision of at least one Maori name. And the requirement to provide community pool, and the requirement is put on developers.
Yep, I agree with that.
Mm.
No, we would like the default that there is always provision of it that there's always provision of at least one Māori name by developers. For the board to consider.
Well, that is, Paul, as long as the developer has consulted with Māori and Māori are happy with that. Because if they're not happy with that, then why present one to us?
Yeah, with the onus on developers to consult mana whenua rather than on the council. So if so I'm assuming that if developers come to us and they say we consulted with mana whenua and they said they didn't like, they weren't happy, then that we would not approve. So the default that there's always provision of at least one Māori name option from the developers for the board to consider, with the onus on the developer to consult. So that consultation is done by the developer and we get the results of that to make a decision based upon. Does that make sense? Anybody have anything to add? Nope. Have we got anything else underneath that? No. All right. Are we good? I think we're good.
Yep.
Greg, good. Good. Yep. All right.
Yeah, like a lot better without having it as a default.
Yeah.
A lot better.
All right. All good. Well, in that case, we'll just we will resume standing orders.
I'll second it.
Yep. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Is everyone happy if we just move all of these resolutions together?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yep.
Yep. All right. Does somebody want to move them?
I'll move them.
Moved by Greg, seconded by Jackie. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. If you want to join me in the karakia whakamutanga, and we'll be done in record time. And thank you, Joe, for joining us from a distance. Unahia, ki te urutapu nui, kia wātea, kia mama, te ngākau, te tinana, te wairoa, e te ara takata, koe ara e rongo, whakarea aki kirona, kia tina, huie, tai e. Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.
Travel safe, Joe.